Here's a question that has confused people for thousands of years and still does today. Is marriage a beautiful promise between two people who love each other? Or is it just a piece of paper? I mean, honestly, think about it. People fall in love every single day, but not all of them get married. And some people who are married don't seem very happy. So what's the point? What does marriage actually mean in today's world? That's what we're diving into today. And trust me, this conversation is going to get interesting.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Daily English Conversation Club, the podcast where we talk about real life in real English for real people. I'm Leo.
And I'm Zara. And if you're new here, hi, welcome. We are so glad you found us. We talk about everyday topics and we help you improve your English naturally just by listening and enjoying the conversation. No textbooks, no boring grammar lessons, just two friends chatting.
Exactly. And today's topic, marriage. Oh man, this one is close to my heart. And I think it's close to a lot of people's hearts too, right? Whether you're single, in a relationship, already married, or maybe thinking about it.
Or maybe running away from it.
Yeah, exactly. No judgment here. But seriously, this topic touches everyone. And we want to hear from you today. So here's our first question for the comments section. Are you married, single, or somewhere in between? Tell us. Drop a comment below. We read every single one.
And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, especially someone who's learning English. It really helps us grow the Daily English Conversation Club family. Okay, so Leo, let's get into it. What do you think marriage actually is, like at its core?
Okay, so honestly, I think marriage means different things to different people. And that's the interesting part. For some people, it's a deeply spiritual thing, a promise made before God or before their community, their family. For others, it's more of a practical arrangement, like we love each other, we want to build a life together, let's make it official.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. I was talking to my aunt once. She's been married for 32 years, right? And I asked her, what's the secret? And she just laughed and said, Zara, marriage is not a feeling. It's a decision you make every single day. And that really stayed with me. Like, it's not always about romance and butterflies. Sometimes it's just choosing your person even on the difficult days.
Wow, that's deep. I love that. A decision you make every single day. That's such a real way to put it. Because I think a lot of people, especially younger people, they have this idea that marriage is like the end of a love story. Like you find your person, you get married, credits roll, happily ever after. Done.
Right, like a movie.
Exactly. But real marriage is actually the beginning of something much more complicated and much more beautiful than any movie. You're two people with different backgrounds, different habits, different opinions, and you're choosing to make a life together. That's huge. That takes so much work.
It really does. And you know what's interesting? The meaning of marriage has also changed so much over history. Like hundreds of years ago, marriage wasn't really about love at all. It was about land or money or families joining together for power, especially for women. In many cultures, they had no choice. They were told who to marry.
That's wild when you think about it now, right? Like today, most people in the world have the freedom to choose their partner, and that's actually a relatively new thing in human history.
And it's not universal even today. There are still places in the world where arranged marriages are very common, but even that has changed. It's not always forced. Some arranged marriages are more like, my parents found some good candidates, but I still have the final say.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. Arranged doesn't always mean forced. A lot of people in those systems are actually quite happy. There's research that shows some arranged marriages have very high satisfaction rates, which kind of challenges this Western idea that you have to fall in head over heels in love first and then get married.
Oh, that's a great point. And speaking of that, listeners, here's a little something to think about. What does marriage mean in your culture? Is it more traditional, more modern? Is love the most important factor, or are other things like family approval or financial stability also important? Think about it and leave your thoughts in the comment section. We'd really love to know.
This actually reminds me of something. My friend Marcus, he's from Nigeria originally, but he's lived in Canada for about 10 years now. And he was telling me about the pressure he felt from his family to get married by a certain age. Like in his community, if you're a man and you're over 30 and you're not married, people start asking questions. There's this sense of, what's wrong with you?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. In a lot of South Asian cultures, too, the pressure is enormous, especially for women. Once you hit a certain age, suddenly every family gathering becomes a marriage interview. So, any good news? You know that phrase.
Ah, yes. Any good news, which really means, are you engaged yet? Are you pregnant yet? What are you doing with your life?
Exactly. And it can be really stressful because, on one hand, yes, you understand where it comes from. Your family loves you, they want you to be settled and happy. But on the other hand, you're like, please let me breathe.
And this is something I think a lot of our listeners can relate to, wherever you're from. Whether it's family pressure, societal expectations, or just your own internal timeline, marriage brings up a lot of emotions and a lot of questions.
You know what I think is the most interesting question, though? It's not, should I get married? It's more like, what am I actually looking for in a life partner? Because I think sometimes people rush into marriage because of pressure without really asking themselves, what kind of relationship do I actually want?
That's such a good point because marriage is, and I say this respectfully, the biggest decision most people will ever make, bigger than your job, bigger than where you live, because you're choosing the person who will be there on your worst days, not just your best ones.
And that's something worth thinking about slowly, not rushing, which I know is hard when everyone around you is getting engaged and posting beautiful photos online, and you're just sitting there eating snacks.
Eating snacks and questioning your life choices.
Exactly. No shame in that, by the way. Take your time. Okay, we need to take a quick breath here because in part two, we're going to talk about something that a lot of people wonder about but don't always say out loud. Is marriage actually necessary anymore? Like in today's world, do people need to get married? That conversation is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we're back. Welcome to part two of our conversation about marriage here on the Daily English Conversation Club. And before we get into it, if you're just joining us, go back and listen to part one. We had a really beautiful conversation about what marriage means across different cultures and different generations.
And we asked you a question. What does marriage mean in your culture? I hope you've been thinking about it. Drop your answer in the comments. Seriously, we love reading what you have to say. It makes this whole thing feel like a real community.
It really does. Okay, so Leo, big question time. In 2025, do people actually need to get married? Like, is it still relevant?
Ooh, okay. So this is where it gets interesting, because I think if you ask 100 people, you'll get 100 different answers, and they'll all be valid in their own way.
For sure.
But here's my honest take. I think marriage, as a legal institution, yes, it still has very real practical value. Like if your partner gets sick and is in the hospital, in many countries, if you're not legally married, you might not even be allowed to make medical decisions for them. That's serious. Or if one partner dies, the laws around inheritance, property, insurance, all of that is much more protected when you're legally married.
That's such a practical way to look at it. And a lot of people don't think about those things when they're young and in love. You're like, oh, we don't need a piece of paper. Our love is enough. And then life happens.
Exactly. Life has a way of making you think about paperwork. But then there's the other side, the emotional and social side. And this is where it gets more complicated, I think. Because honestly, some of the happiest couples I know are not married. They've been together for years. They have kids, they have a home together, but they just chose not to get that legal certificate, and they're completely fine.
Yeah, and that's valid too. I think what matters most isn't the ceremony or the legal status, it's the commitment, the choice to build something with someone, to be loyal, to communicate, to grow together. You can have all of that without a wedding.
Right. But, and here's where I push back a little, I do think that the act of getting married, of making that public commitment in front of your family and community, For a lot of people, that has a real psychological weight to it. Like it makes the relationship feel more serious, more real, more intentional.
Oh, I agree with that. There's something about standing in front of the people you love and saying, I choose this person. It means something. Even if you already knew it in your heart, saying it out loud, making it official, that changes something.
It's like the difference between thinking you want to run a marathon and actually signing up for one. Once you've registered, you're committed. You can't just quietly give up.
I love that analogy. Marriage as a marathon registration. That's going in my notebook.
Okay, can we do a quick myth versus reality moment? Because I feel like there are so many misconceptions about marriage that people just accept without questioning.
Oh, yes, let's do it. Okay, myth number one, marriage will make you happy.
Reality, marriage can support your happiness, but it can't create it. If you're not happy with yourself before marriage, marriage is not going to fix that. That's something a lot of therapists say, actually. You have to bring happiness into the relationship. You can't expect your partner to be responsible for all of it.
Yes, that's so important. Okay, myth number two, once you're married, the romance disappears.
Reality, romance doesn't disappear, but it does change. It becomes less about grand gestures and more about small, consistent acts of love, like making your partner coffee in the morning without being asked, or remembering the things that stress them out and trying to help. That's romance in its grown-up form.
Oh, that's actually beautiful and kind of reassuring, honestly. Okay, one more. Myth number three, divorce means failure.
Hmm. Reality, sometimes ending a marriage is the bravest and most self-aware thing a person can do. Not every marriage can or should last forever. Sometimes people grow in different directions, and choosing to leave a relationship that isn't working, that takes courage. It's not failure, it's honesty.
Beautifully said. And I think that's something we don't say enough. We put so much pressure on marriage to be permanent, and then when it ends, people feel so much shame. When really, sometimes two people just weren't right for each other in the long run, and that's okay.
Okay, so for all our listeners who are either thinking about marriage or already in a relationship, here's one practical tip that I think is genuinely useful. Have the hard conversations before you get married.
Oh, yes, this is so underrated. Like, do you both want children? Where do you want to live? How do you handle money? Do you combine finances or keep them separate? What are your religious beliefs and how will that affect your family? What happens if one of you wants to move to another country for work?
These sound like really unromantic conversations, but they're so necessary because a lot of marriages run into trouble not because the love disappeared, but because two people discovered too late that they had completely different visions for their future.
Exactly. And here's the thing, having those conversations doesn't kill the romance. It actually builds trust because you're saying to your partner, I take this seriously. I want us to actually work together.
I love that framing. Okay, mini challenge time. And listeners, this one is for everyone, married or not. Think of one important topic: money, family, future plans, lifestyle, and have an honest conversation about it with your partner. Or if you're single, write down your own answers to these questions. What do you actually want in a future relationship? It's worth knowing.
Such a good challenge. And hey, share your experience in the comments. Did you have any of these conversations? Was it awkward? Was it helpful? We want to know. And remember, subscribe to the Daily English Conversation Club. Share this episode with a friend who's in a relationship or thinking about marriage. You might just help them out. Okay, coming up in part three, we're talking about modern marriage. How has it changed? What do young people think about it today? And what does marriage even look like in the future? Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome to part three, the final part of our deep dive into marriage on the Daily English Conversation Club. Zara, I feel like we've covered so much ground already. We really have, and I've been enjoying this conversation so much because it's one of those topics where the more you talk about it, the more you realize there's just so much to say. Like, we could honestly do a whole series on this. We probably should. But for now, let's talk about marriage in the modern world because things have really changed in the last 20 or 30 years. The way people meet, the way they date, the age people get married, the reasons they get married, All of it has shifted massively. Like my grandparents' generation, you met someone in your village or your neighborhood. Your families knew each other. You got married young, probably by your early 20s. That was just the norm. And now people are meeting on apps. They're dating someone they met online who lives in a completely different city or even a different country. The whole geography of romance has changed. And the age of marriage has gone up so much. In most developed countries, the average age for a first marriage is now around 30, which would have seemed almost scandalously old to previous generations. Because people are prioritizing other things first now: education, career, travel, self-discovery. And I think that's genuinely good. You know yourself so much better at 30 than at 22. For sure. Though, again, not universal. In some countries and communities, the expectation is still to marry young. And for some people, that works beautifully. I don't think there's one right age or one right timeline. Completely agree, but I do think one of the biggest shifts in modern marriage is this. People now expect their marriage to give them more than previous generations did. It's not just about having a stable home or raising children. People want their spouse to also be their best friend, their emotional support, their adventure partner, their intellectual equal, their travel buddy, their therapist, their workout partner. Right. And some relationship experts actually say this puts a lot of pressure on the modern marriage because one person can't possibly be everything to you. That's why having other strong friendships and a life outside your marriage is so important. That's such a wise point. I think a lot of people, especially in the early stages of a relationship, make the mistake of making their partner their whole world. And then when problems come up, it feels devastating because you have no other support system. Yeah, your partner should be your favorite person, but not your only person. Ooh, that's quotable. Your partner should be your favorite person, but not your only person. I'm writing that down. You know, as we're talking, I'm noticing we've been using some really great English phrases naturally throughout this conversation. So let me just quickly highlight a few, not as a lesson, just as a reminder. Oh, I love this. Yes. Okay, so head over heels in love. That means completely, deeply in love. Like you're so in love you can't think straight. And make it official, that just means to formalize something. Like we've been dating for a year and now we want to make it official, meaning get engaged or announce the relationship publicly. Run into trouble, that means to start experiencing problems, like their marriage ran into trouble after a few years. And take something seriously, to treat something with care and importance. He really takes his marriage seriously. He reads books about relationships, they go to couples counseling, great ones. And settle down. This one comes up a lot in conversations about marriage. It means to stop moving around or dating different people and commit to a stable life, usually with one partner. Are you planning to settle down anytime soon? Classic question from a worried parent. Oh, and since we're naturally learning English here, one small grammar thing I noticed we've been using a lot today is the present perfect tense. Like things have changed, people have shifted, the age has gone up. This tense is really useful when you're talking about changes that happened in the past but are still relevant now. Exactly. So instead of saying things changed, which sounds finished, you say things have changed, which connects the past to the present. It's a small difference, but it sounds so much more natural in conversation. And you probably heard us use it naturally throughout today's episode without even noticing, which is kind of the point. The best way to learn grammar is not to study a chart. It's to hear it used naturally over and over in real conversations, like this one. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We've talked about so much today. What marriage means, how it's changed through history, whether it's still necessary, the pressures people feel, the myths, the realities. And I think if I had to sum it all up in one idea, it would be this. Marriage is not a destination, it's a direction. It's not something you arrive at and then you're done. It's something you choose and keep choosing every day. I love that. And whether or not marriage is part of your future, what I hope you take from today's conversation is this. Relationships, commitment, communication, these things matter. They shape the quality of your life more than almost anything else. And the fact that you're here, learning English through real, meaningful conversations, that's actually a form of commitment too, to yourself, to your growth. And we are genuinely honored to be part of that journey. Okay, it's time for our favorite segment, the Daily English Moment. This is where we leave you with one sentence, one phrase that captures the heart of today's episode, something you can carry with you. And today's Daily English Moment is love may start the journey, but commitment is what keeps you going. Say it again slowly. Love may start the journey, but commitment is what keeps you going. Beautiful. Write it down. Say it to yourself. Maybe even share it with someone you love. Okay, that's a wrap on today's episode of the Daily English Conversation Club. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. It genuinely means the world. And remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. It's free, it helps us so much, and it means you'll never miss a new episode. Also, share this with a friend, especially one who's learning English or one who's thinking about marriage. Maybe it'll start a great conversation. And don't forget to leave us a comment below. Tell us, what does marriage mean to you? Have you had any of those important conversations we talked about today? We want to hear your story. And next time on the Daily English Conversation Club, we're talking about something that affects every single one of us, making difficult decisions. How do you choose when both options feel scary? How do you trust yourself? How do you move forward even when you're not sure? That's coming up next, and I promise it's going to be just as real and just as honest as today. Until then, keep listening, keep speaking, keep growing. This is Leo and Zara from the Daily English Conversation Club. See you next time.